Literally about a month away right now. And it's something that we're so excited about. Joy International is a ministry that we give to as the Rock Church. And so when we say that your giving goes beyond these four walls, it truly, truly does. And the message today is so urgent. And I pray that you will open your heart. I pray that you'll open your ears to listen, to lean in, to say, to allow God to do what He's going to do. Because I believe that today the Holy Spirit is going to move in every single heart in this room in a different way, in a powerful way. And I pray that you'll open your heart to be ready for that. So, are you ready? I want to, first, I'm not ready. Maybe I should get ready. Help me welcome our live stream. Those watching all around the world, come on, make some noise for them. Thank you so much for tuning in with us today. It's going to be awesome. Can you give a big rock welcome? Stand up on your feet. Make some noise for Dr. Jeff Brodsky.
Well, thanks. Please sit. Um, good morning. Good morning, everyone here in Arizona and I guess around the world. I didn't even realize that. Um, Speaking of around the world, my team right now is on their way. They're in the air to Belize, where we're training police, special anti-trafficking unit that we've helped to put together there for rescue operations. And I'll be leaving my flight leaves at 5:30 tomorrow morning for there, and I'll be there for a week, come home for 2 days, and then I'm off to Uganda and then to Kenya. So quite a bit of travel. But it's great to be here. Has anybody been here before when I spoke years ago, many years ago? I actually spoke I guess it was in the 80s with my clown character, Snuggles. Was anybody at any of those services? Were you really, Brad? Cool. Were you there too? Wow, that's great. It's been a long time that I've known Pastor Kevin and Melissa. They're dear friends. I knew them when they were just little munchkins. No, not that young. Okay, let's get rolling. My name is Jeff Brodsky. I'm the president and founder of Joy International. I started it when I lived here in Arizona, 1981. So we're in our 38th year. We rescue child sex slaves. I'm going to be very cautious with the way that I speak and what I share, just because of the potential of children being both here and watching. So, those of you that are adults, I'll be speaking in terms where you'll understand what I'm saying. Okay, so I try to be as cautious as possible. Hopefully, I won't slip. But let's get started because I have a lot to share. Those two beauties there, Emma and Leah, Emma in the green, Leah in the blue, are two of my grandchildren. And I always start with them because it helps to remind me that a lot of the children we rescue, and when I say that we rescue children from brothels, we have rescued. Um, we've rescued girls from brothels as young as 4 years old. There's no worse crime in our world today than this. It is the worst crime perpetrated against a child since the dawn of creation. Nobody can convince me otherwise. This past year, actually a few months ago, our team in Cambodia rescued a girl, 21 months old. Totally barefoot, over 9 years, 3,463 days today, and yes, I'm counting. Um, People ask me, why are you barefoot? Well, it's just one word, obedience. Because I believe on July 19, 2010, at a garbage dump in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, uh, I keep forgetting that the pointer doesn't work, the garbage dump on the lower left-hand corner. Um, when I was there with Joyce Meyer Ministries, we were feeding children that live in the dump. They live inside the dump. Do you know why? That's where the fresh food is. When the garbage trucks come, they would converge on the garbage to get the freshest food. Um, And I noticed all the children, all of them, were barefoot. And I couldn't get that picture out of my mind when I went to my hotel room that night. When you do the work I do, you talk to God all the time. You know, even the scriptures tell us to pray without ceasing, and that's possible. I did a study on it. I couldn't understand why would you say that if it's not possible? And it is possible when you know who your spirit man is. And I know, it, like as I'm talking to you right now, I'm praying for my wife. So you can. So I'm praying all the time. I'm communicating with God, and you have to. You know, communication is two-way. You have to also be sensitive to when He's speaking to you. And when I was in my room, I I felt that He was um, talking to me about these barefoot children, asking me to live barefoot in solidarity with them and impoverished and trafficked children all over the world. And I thought, wait, how could I do that? I live at 9,000 feet elevation in the mountains of Colorado. When I left my house the day before yesterday, there was snow on the ground. And yes, I walk in the snow barefoot. I have not had a sock on either one of my feet in 3,463 days. There's no, I refuse to compromise. Um, so I did it. My wife thought I was out of my mind, as did every one of my friends, and people thought I was crazy, but I'm sure they thought that a lot of people throughout the scriptures were crazy when God asked them to do things as well. So I did what I believe God asked me to do. When God asks you to do something, you only have two choices, yes or no. There's no maybe. You need to take maybe out of the dictionary. It's a non word. Maybe just means no until it turns to a yes. So I said yes, and 1 year I did it. On July 19, 2011, I was the happiest man on earth. I couldn't believe I went for a whole year totally barefoot. And I wake up between 2 to 3 a.m. every day, 7 days a week, just like this morning. I had a pair of socks on my ottoman. I put my left foot on the ottoman, took one sock, put it on my toes, went to pull it on my foot. I couldn't get it past my toes. It was as if God sent an angel to have a tug of war with me. And I just cried out to him. I said, Father, what do you want from me? I just went for a whole year. And that still small voice spoke to me in a way that if you were in the room, you wouldn't have heard. But these were the words that I heard verbatim. Keep going. Those children are still out there. Trust me, I didn't want to keep going. People think I like being barefoot because I've been barefoot for over 9 years. I hate being barefoot. I'm just barefoot out of obedience, and I'll keep going as long as God wants me to. If He tells me that it's over, I can start wearing socks. Trust me, one of you would be taking off your socks. I'd be putting them on my feet. All right, let's keep going. Why do I do this work? I did a study, 1979. I'm a Messianic Jew. I accepted Yeshua, Jesus, as my Messiah, in 1976. And in 1979, I was reading the red. That's what I call it. I was reading the words of Jesus, and I came across the least of these. I thought, who's that? Who is that? Why aren't you more specific? Tell me exactly who you think the least of these are. It's different for each one of us. God will reveal to you who you need to see as the least of these. When I did my study and traveling around the world, children of Biafra, with AIDS in Africa, Mother Teresa's home for the destitute and dying. I visited leper colonies. I wanted to see who the least of these were because God called me to help them. When I found about 12, 13 years ago the plight of children that were forced into doing what they do, my search ended. You cannot get any lower than these children having to service, you know what I'm talking about, anywhere from 10 to 15 and even up to 20 men, the most vile humans on earth. That's when my search ended. Jesus came to set the captives free. It was interesting that in in Luke 4:18, he's actually quoting the scriptures in Isaiah 61:1, and that was it. That's what I knew I was called to do. When neither sun nor stars appeared for many days and the storm continued raging, we finally gave up all hope of being saved. That to me is the mantra of every girl that's forced into these brothels. After a day or week, month, year, whatever, of praying if they still believe in any God, pleading for their freedom, they give up all hope of being saved and they go into survival mode. They'll do anything to just survive. Many of them, they can't take it anymore. And they'll just end their lives. When you lose hope, you've lost everything. But when you have hope, you can achieve anything. God's called me to give them hope and let them see when we find, the end result that I look for with every girl? I believe that God's called me to be a fivefold ministry evangelist. What the, my goal for every one of those girls is to see them come into a relationship with the Lord. And baby, when you see that, the joy I have when I see one of these girls knowing what they've been through, worshiping God, is indescribable. When they come to realize it wasn't God that failed them, it was man. Every 24 seconds, 2 million a year. We thought it was a $40 billion industry. The UN TIP is trafficking in persons, has now calculated at about $150 billion industry. If you took all the 5 top fast food chains and what their income is, 5 of the top, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, all of that, it wouldn't have come out to that. This is the fastest growing industry in the world today. So, with 2 million a year, 27 million in slavery today, how could we rescue them all? People say, don't you get overwhelmed with the numbers? No, I don't, because of, let me give you an example. This is the story of the starfish. Thousands of starfish washed ashore, right? A little boy is frantically throwing him back in the ocean. Man comes up to him and says, what are you doing? Boy says, we have to get these starfish back in the ocean or they're going to die. Man says, you can't rescue all these starfish. Little boy bends down and says, I can rescue this one. I can rescue this one. It's always, always about the one. Jesus would have come for one. So it's always about the one. This should not be happening in our world. And it happens every day. These are just a few of the rescues that we've had over the last year. These are 12 girls rescued, 5 of them minors. We call them minors and majors. Majors are 18 and over, minors are 17 and younger. It doesn't matter if it's a child that's 4 years old, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 30, 40. I don't care how old the person is. If they're being held in bondage, we will do everything to set them free. The girl on the left, the shortest girl there, 12 years old. 32 women found in baby trafficking operation. These were 32 women that were pregnant. They were intentionally impregnated. This was in Cambodia. They were impregnated and then they were being shipped to China. I can't share why, but I'll say this. It was the most evil thing I have ever experienced in my life. I never thought the depths of depravity could get as low as what was going to happen to those babies. Fortunately, they're all born. They're all doing fine. All the women are doing fine. Praise God for the with the rescue from the team that we work with AIM and the Anti-Human Trafficking Juvenile Protection Police team in Cambodia. Um, but you just can't imagine. As a matter of fact, when I heard, I said, "Get out! That's baloney. I don't believe that." And I, I'm a research fanatic. I researched it, what they said was going to happen with the babies, and it was so true. Even the photos that I saw, I've never been so repulsed by anything other than that. This little girl, only 12 years old, 5 years old. If I tell you something, you could be sure of one thing, it's true. I don't make numbers up. I don't show you things that aren't true. Everything that I show you and everything that I share with you, I can absolutely positively verify. This little girl was only 5 years old. This was a week after she was rescued. We brought a whole group of 72 girls to a water park in Cambodia just to give them an opportunity to be a little kid for a day. The girl with the circle around her head, very special. Her name is Toha. This is Toha. When Toha was forced into a brothel, it took the team 22 days to rescue her. 22 days. In those 22 days, Toha had to service 198 men in 22 days. You'll notice that I'm wearing a bracelet. It was made by Toha with the number 22 on it. It's my reminder. Every second counts. Every moment matters. Just a few years before I met Toha, there was a funeral in Cambodia for a girl 19 years old. When she was 15, she was in the brothels. She got AIDS and died. What if the 198th and 199th man that she had to service was the one that gave her AIDS? She'd be dead today. Every second counts. Every moment matters. This is Toha. She's leading 100 men that the team rescued from the fishing boats. They were forced to be slaves on the fishing boats. Toha now works with the rescue team. She considers herself an abolitionist. It's just incredible. She went through the healing process through the organization that we work with in Cambodia called AIM, Agape International Missions, and they have a phenomenal program for the healing and the restoration and then the reintegration of the girls back into society to become productive citizens in their countries. I'm not going to go through this. Just trust me when I say nefarious is extremely wicked, vile, or evil. I would normally at this point share stories that would astound you, some of the things that happened to these girls. I cannot share them here because of the fact that there's children here and I don't know who's watching. But you can't imagine. If you want to hear what the stories are, just get my book, okay? And you can hear the stories. And by the way, if you can't afford the price of the book, and we've discounted it whenever I speak, if you can't afford it, just be honest and just take one if you can't afford it. And it'll be my gift to you. God will multiply it back to me. This is real. These are cages. You can see the girls in cages here. You see a guy standing in the back there, the guard. This is what happens. This is why it's called trafficking from one place to another. Why do they take girls from America and ship them to Russia? And why do they take girls from Russia and ship them here? The girls are already there. They can use them there. Why do they do that? There's a reason. There's a reason it's called trafficking. It's to disorient the girls. They're going to a place, they don't speak the language, they don't know anybody. They become dependent on the trafficker. That's why it's called trafficking. They want to traffic the girls to disorient them so that they want to own their mind. When they own their mind, they control their body. But you'll notice that particular unit, this is what they would do if there were girls in there, which isn't necessary on this particular boat, but that's how they would do it. They would put it on the lower part of the back corner. Because if the maritime police or the Navy or Coast Guard were to approach the boat, this is what would happen with the girls inside. And that would be their final resting place. When I say this is a nightmare, I'm not kidding. When you support a work like Joy International, you're saving lives. Plain and simple, you're saving lives. People say, that's not real. That doesn't really happen. You'll see where it's circled. One dead as dozens found in UK container, 35 in hospital with significant health problems after being found in shipping container east of London. Like I said, if I say it, it's really true. Over 2,000 children, young women rescued through the years. Those are just some of the countries. We're now starting a whole new work in Central America, all the Caribbean nations. We're just starting it. That's why my team is in the air right now on their way there, and I'll be there tomorrow. We'll start having missionary trips, short-term missions trips for teenagers and adults with the program that we're starting there. We'll be starting that this summer. We've been taking teams to Cambodia, which we'll still be doing that, but also now to Belize. We always work in cooperation with law enforcement, always. This is Robert. He's the one on the plane right now. He'll be doing this in Belize tomorrow. He's my director of global police training and tactical operations. Here he's teaching them how to use handcuffs. I don't know if you could see on their wrists, they're all taped because their wrists are sore from the handcuffs going on and off for a 2-day period. The smell of Tiger Balm on the second day to help heal them is incredible. But we supply them with handcuffs, with mace, with batons, with vests. We supply them with everything. The government won't supply them, then we supply just the team that we help put together with AIM and the anti-human trafficking police team there. At the end of the week, that we have a really nice service with all of the men. They really appreciate it. Have we been successful? Everything that I was hoping to learn about an organization fighting this evil, I found with Don and Bridget and with AIM. And that started this partnership that has been going on for a number of years, which has resulted in over 1,000 rescues already.
In Joy International, we've done 6 police trainings, training anti-human trafficking and juvenile protection police throughout Cambodia in tactical operations and firearms training, as well as our SWAT team. And they've also donated to individual cases that we've done.
The use of numbers, this isn't a statistic. These are 1,000 lives that have been transformed. These were 1,000 lives that were in some of the most brutal, difficult situations, and now they have an opportunity to live a life that's completely different.
Joy International came alongside of us and helped do training. They've done multiple trainings with the Cambodian National Police and our SWAT team that has resulted in a real professionalism that leads to the success. But not only that, they've helped fund the raids themselves, and that's critical for us to be successful.
One of the biggest factors in prevention is the arrest, prosecution, conviction, and imprisonment of the perpetrators. So when I saw that this was what was happening with AIM, I said, this is the kind of organization that I want to partner with. We've been partners ever since. We have key strategic relationships. I will not work in a country until we build a relationship with the government and the police to know that we're dealing with people that are not corrupt, which is the worst. In Cambodia, it took me 5 years to finally have a team that we knew that we could trust. In Belize, it took me 2 years to finally get the government to agree to let us help develop this team, and it's just been tremendous. I used to go undercover all the time. I would go undercover. I would have hidden cameras, and it could be a button, it could be my glasses, a watch, my pen, and we would bring the footage, showing that there's little girls in these brothels, and we'd bring the footage to the police, and the next day everybody was gone because of the corruption. I thought there has to be a better way. And that's when we realized we have to train the police to do this so that when they go in to do the rescue, they do the rescue and the arrest at the same time. Now, every rescue that we do with our teams results in guys going to prison. If that doesn't happen, if the brothel owner doesn't go to jail, he'll just go to his cronies and say, "They've taken 5 of my girls. Go get me 5 more girls," just like that. So now it's great. It's working great. Why is it the fastest growing crime in the world today? Demand is increasing. It's difficult to prosecute. Very lucrative. Organized crime and gangs see it as a better commodity than drugs. If this were a drug and I were a drug dealer, my client would say, "I need drugs." I'd go to my supplier, say, "I need drugs." He'd give me the drugs. I would mark it up a little, sell it to my client. One time, can't make any more money on it. If it's a 13-year-old girl, I could rent her out 10 to 15 and even up to 20 times a day. Every day, 7 days a week until she's no longer desirable and she's thrown in the street like trash if she doesn't take her own life. The average lifespan of a girl that is forced into the brothels is 5 to 7 years. What about America? 2 to 300,000 is the latest calculation. What about Arizona? Yesterday, when I was on the Arrowhead campus, I did something. Well, first, it's showing you that you're number 8 here. The FBI said something different. FBI sex trafficking sting, 82 juveniles rescued, 67 suspects arrested. It's somewhere on there where it shows that Arizona was number 3. I'm just going to go through this fast because I'm not sure how much time I have left. Here you can see numbers from the FBI. Arizona was 3rd in the nation. Glendale. By the way, all of these are from last year, except for one of them. Well, one of them wasn't only from last year. These are all from Arizona. That's from last month, December. This is from December of 2019. Where do predators live? That circle is right around the building of the church, the Arrowhead campus. Those little red dots is an app on my phone. If I touch one of those dots, this is what it would bring up. I'm going to go through this quickly. It would bring up the person, his name, his address, and what he was convicted for against a child. The first one you saw just had a few dots. If you spread it out just a couple of miles, every one of those dots are convicted sex offenders against children. Why they're not in prison is beyond my understanding. But the same thing, I could touch any dot and it shows all the information that you need. You need to be aware, parents, of who lives around you. You'd be amazed. You would be amazed. If you want to know what that app is, it's free. Just come to me after the service and I'd be happy to show it to you. How are girls recruited? Lover boys. Lover boys, young men who purposely position themselves as the romantic interest of young females for the purpose of forcing them into prostitution. Many of these lover boys are actually pimps or hired and trained by pimps. I could literally do a several-hour workshop for especially teenage girls and parents on that subject alone, on how to protect your children. Not just teenage girls, but preteen girls as well. I'm talking girls as young as 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and how the predators will recruit them. Just get my book. I have a whole section in my book just about this, how they pretend to fall in love with a girl, and how the major pimp will actually pay a teenage boy to get a girl to fall in love with him. So easy. And you'll see what I mean by that if you read about it in the book. You could also go to, well, I'll show you in a second something else. But I don't have the time to go over this the way I normally would. Main places that they recruit: streets, malls, schools, middle school, high school, college, and church youth groups. People say, huh? What do you mean church youth groups? I was a youth pastor 17 years right here in Arizona. If this were my youth room and a teenager walked in, a girl, I could tell you in 30 seconds if she was there because she wanted to be or because her parents said, you're going to youth group tonight whether you like it or not. And you could tell just by the look on her face, just like that. Well, the predators now are training teenage boys how to zero in on that face and that attitude and how to zero in on them to recruit them. What are some things you can do to protect yourself from potential predators? Go to the parent pages at my website, joy.org. I mean, it can't get any simpler than that, joy.org. Thank you, God, for getting me joy.org. Friend me on Facebook and Twitter. My Facebook name is also just, facebook.com/Jeff Brodsky. I post all the time. If we get new information, that's what we do. You can sign up for our newsletter. You could text the word joy to 42828, 42828, or just go to the website. What's the number one answer to fighting this evil in our world today? Just look in the mirror, because it's us. God has called us to be the hands and feet. He's given us the power and the authority over the enemy. Here's one simple way that you can join us in the fight in 4 more weeks.
Now dozens of children are safe after they were rescued.
82 children across the nation were rescued.
I remember saying to my wife that, Gail, as long as my being barefoot will motivate even one person a year to action in a way that would help me to rescue even one more child, I'll go barefoot the rest of my life.
A man accused of trying to sell his 4-year-old daughter on Craigslist.
Police arrested a total of 6 people tonight.
We no longer can sit by and ignore the truth about what's happening.
New at 5, a longtime soccer coach is now in custody tonight.
An Anchorage man is charged with trafficking women around the state.
Recorded our conversation. You've recorded the conversation, mate. I want you shot in 5 minutes.
The Barefoot Mile is growing in a way that I never expected it to. On July 19, 2010, when I first decided to go barefoot in solidarity with impoverished and trafficked children, I had no thought of it being used as a fundraiser. It was that small church youth group in Coshocton, Ohio that started it. And from there, it's just grown.
And I remember just standing on the ledge there getting ready to speak and watching the crowd gather. And I was fighting back the tears because to see that whole town square begin to fill up with people taking off their shoes. I cannot tell you what it feels like to know that I'm not alone.
It's when we join forces and work together and put our funds together to fight this. That's how we see success. Awareness is good, but awareness without action is apathy. If I make you aware of something and you don't do anything about it, what have I accomplished? When I speak to hopefully motivate people to action in a way that will help to set another child free. By getting involved with the Barefoot Mile, you can literally help set another child free with every step you take. Thank you. I never went barefoot to raise money. Never. It was all about just being obedient to God and doing it to raise awareness. But since that, which was in the third year of me being barefoot, and this young man came up with the idea of the Barefoot Mile in Ohio after I spoke to their youth group, it has raised over $1 million. It's incredible. Now, nobody has matched Anchorage, Alaska yet. They raise at their Barefoot Mile, this will be their fourth this year, but each year they raise over $200,000. So is that a challenge to you? I'm just amazed. I'm really amazed at what has happened. And like I shared with my wife on that 1 year anniversary, I said, hon, as long as my going barefoot will motivate even one person a year to action, I'll go barefoot for the rest of my life. And these are just some of the barefoot miles. That's the governor's wife in Alaska. We've had 2 senators, the mayor, Miss Alaska. This is, of course, is the date. You have all the information on the cards and all. I sure hope you'll join us, and I challenge you. Invite it, not just one person, invite the people that you know. I mean, this could be great. This should be the biggest barefoot mile that we have. It's where I started, Joy International. I would love to see Arizona be the place where it really overwhelms everybody. We have them all over the country, and now with invitations around the world. Beyond rescues, this is what the Barefoot Mile Walks accomplish with the funds that we raise. Not just for rescue operations and for training the police, but also we go way beyond that. I'll give you an example. This gal used to work in the brickyards, where she made about $20 a month, less than $1 a day. So we helped her start a chicken business. Now she makes about 300 or more a month, which is huge there. This gal, she did the same thing with pigs. These gals, they wanted to have their own little coffee shop. So we helped to fund this. A girl from Australia, 19 years old, lived with them for a year, teaching them how to make all the coffees and sandwiches and fruit juices. They're so successful. This was years ago. They've already opened up their second restaurant. They're successful businesswomen. You know what that is? That's a cake. This is at a place called the Bloom Cafe in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. If you go to Cambodia with me, we're going to the Bloom Cafe. These girls are now trained to do these. Those are cakes too. This is something else we do. We've given away well over 50,000 pounds of rice. The rice means a lot. It really means a lot to the families there, because the predators will come and offer to buy their children, and when they're desperate, they'll sell them. So we work along with local missionaries who then have the opportunity to buy the rice. Our teams hand it out, and it builds a relationship with the missionaries and the locals, where the missionaries then tell the people, if somebody comes to offer you money for your child, come to us first. So that's one of the reasons we do that. Plus, it's a blessing to them. That rice is a real blessing to them. And that's our team handing out the rice. I mean, you could just see the expression on this precious woman's face with just a 10-pound bag of rice. That's my grandson on one of the mission trips with us. I was asked if I would buy flip-flops, which is quite the paradox for a guy that's barefoot. But we've given away, I don't even know how many. They're all holding up their new flip-flops there. We do kids clubs where the guys, just those are all children, some of them that were trafficked, some that were at very high risk of being trafficked. So we do a week-long kids club. The couple that you see in the back in the black there, they spent a year with Darlene Check and the Hillsong team in Sydney, Australia, just learning about praise and worship, and they had a whole class on praise and worship for the praise and worship team in Cambodia. I just realized that you guys are connected. That just came to me. Is it possible for children to help? Watch this. This little girl, she was 7 years old, and raised $777 for a Barefoot Mile in Kansas City, Missouri. All she did was go door to door and ask people to sponsor her. That's how she did it. Because I have high school students and college students that say, well, I don't have any money. I can't help you. Yeah, don't tell. I don't want to hear that. Not when you have a 7-year-old that goes door knocking and raises $777. And hers was a small one. This girl, 12 years old, she heard me speak at a camp where they taught her how to make bracelets, paracord bracelets. She went home and said, Mom, Dad, I heard this guy that's talked, and I want to help him. I want to give him $1,000. I'm going to make 100 bracelets and sell them for $10 a piece. You'll notice that check was made for $1,000. She did it, 12 years old. But the winner, I mean, well, they're all winners. This gal, Braylyn, she was 8 years old when she first started. This is on the Barefoot Mile in Alaska. When Braylyn first heard, she got a recipe for peanut butter flavored dog biscuits. For real. She baked them, she bagged them, she sold them. In the first year, she raised $1,200. The second year, she raised $1,800. Last year, over $2,000. I don't know what she's going to raise this year. Who knows? She's already recruited other kids. Um, so when high school and college students say, I can't help you, I don't have any money, all I do is tell them the story of Braylon, who, by the way, my children's book out there is dedicated to Braylon. Einstein said the world is a dangerous place to live, not because of the people who are evil, but because of the people who do nothing about it. This is our newest project in Belize, which affects all of the Caribbean nations and Central America. We're training the police there. Like I said, we'll be there tomorrow doing another group. This is a part of the project that we have going on there. That's where the construction is to hopefully build that. So if there's anybody out there that would like to write a check for $350,000, I would really appreciate it. So are the people there. You can build a phenomenal facility. I'll even put your name on it. One of the April 1st, this maniac lunatic barefoot guy is going to get on that bicycle at the entrance to Disneyland in California, and I'm going to ride it from Disneyland in California to Disney World in Orlando, Florida, about 2,800 miles. Yes, I am out of my mind. And I'm doing it to hopefully raise enough money for that center in the safe house in Belize. So if you write a check for $350,000, I won't have to do the bike ride. You could be potentially saving my life. This to me is the most beautiful sound on earth. There's nothing that sounds better to me than this. And those of you that are parents that have young children, even if you're not, even if you just heard this sound, you'd probably agree with me. It's the greatest sound in the world. Hello. Well, that wasn't it. I think, are we done? Are we coming back? Okay. So, there we go. Thank you. Awareness is good, but awareness without action is apathy. I believe that if I make you aware of something and you choose to do nothing about it, what have I accomplished? Nothing. I'm here for one reason only, to hopefully motivate at least one of you to action in a way that could help us set another child free. That's the only reason I'm standing on this stage. My two books, like I said, the children's book was actually based on a live presentation I did at a school in Colorado. Uh, it was an elementary school. When I was invited there, I thought, oh, what am I going to talk about to, an elementary school about child slavery today? And when I got there, God gave me this whole scenario, and I thought, okay, I think I could do this. At the end, the principal comes up in tears, barefoot, and he said, Dr. Jeff, what you just did with those children was fascinating. He said, I was so nervous having you here because I didn't know what you were going to talk about. But the teacher that had told me about you assured me that you'd be very discreet, and you were. He said, what you just did with those children would make a great children's book. And that's how that was born. Um, but anyway, I think that's it. That's it. I just want to pray.